In my previous life, I fell into the water at the eldest princess's 100 Flowers banquet. Fortunately, my fiancé Jiyuan rescued me in time, but he used the excuse that my reputation was damaged and would only take me as a concubine. Don't worry, even though you'll be a concubine, I'll only favor you alone. The future matriarch of the household won't surpass you either. Yet, shortly after I entered the household, he hastily welcomed his visiting cousin Lin Ru as his legitimate wife. Lin Ru appeared kind on the outside, but had many ways to torment people. In just a few years, I was riddled with illnesses, my lamp running out of oil. Before I died, Lin Ru looked down on me mockingly. What a fool if cousin truly loved you. How could he demote you to concubine? He just coveted your dowry but didn't want to give you status. That is all. And that day you fell in the water. It was me who pushed you, dear sister. My hatred reached the heavens, and when I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the 100 Flowers banquet. Pain, a kind of pain that penetrated my bones and pierced my heart. Before I could fully regain clarity, a delicate female voice reached my ears. Sister Shu, look how beautifully that pink lotus is blooming. In my past life, it was after hearing this sentence that I couldn't help but lean closer to look. As a result, I was pushed into the water by a great force. In this life, I won't repeat the same mistake. Before the person behind me could make a move, I twisted my body and dodged to the side. Lin Ru had used all her strength in this push. Suddenly meeting empty air, she could only suffer the consequences herself. I watched coldly as she flailed in the water, feeling an unprecedented satisfaction. But if she just drowned like this, it would be letting her off too easy. Suddenly, a familiar figure leapt into the lake. It was Shi Zhuan. He immediately pretended to call for help. Someone come quickly. Someone's fallen into the water. My shouts quickly drew the attention of nearby noblewomen. While inquiring about who had fallen into the water, they looked toward the lake. By this time, Shi Jiyuan had already dragged Lin Ru ashore. Lin Ru's hair was disheveled, making it difficult to see her face clearly for a moment. But Shi Zhuan was already softly calling out. Zhiwei, wake up quickly. I clenched my fingers, my body trembling uncontrollably. Although Lin Ru and I had somewhat similar builds, as my fiancé Shi Zhuan couldn't possibly mistake me for Lin Ru. Unless from the start, he was certain the person who fell into the water was me. Suppressing my hatred, I spoke up. Master Shi, I've been admiring flowers from the side all along. How strange that I didn't know when I fell into the water. Zhiwei, how are you? Here. I laughed bitterly in anger. Master Shi's words are quite odd. If I am not here, where should I be in the water? Shi Zhuan realized his blunder and tried to cover it up. That is not what I meant. Before he could finish, Lin Ru, lying in his arms, moved. Shi Zhuan had already guessed the identity of the person in his arms and hastily took off his outer robe to cover Lin Ru. Quite a few noblewomen also recognized Lin Ru and began whispering among themselves. It is that cousin from the Xia family. Speaking of which, given her lowly status, how did she even get into the 100 Flowers banquet? With such a huge commotion this time, let's see if the princess won't punish her. This young Master Xia is also strange. Can't he even recognize his own cousin? Shi Zhuan's face looked exceptionally unpleasant. Lin Ru originally wanted to continue pretending to be unconscious, but after hearing everyone's discussion, she had no choice but to slowly come to. She accused tearfully. Sister Shui, don't think I've ever offended you, so I don't know why you pushed me into the water. It must be said that Lin Ru does have some cleverness. This move both ruined my reputation and redirected the princess's anger onto me, while conveniently disguising herself as the victim. Too bad I am no longer the foolish, weak Shu Zhouwei from my past life. Miss Ava, you need evidence when you speak. You say I pushed you, but did anyone see it? Lin Ru sobbed softly. Just now it was only the two of us here. Other than you, who else would have pushed me? Could it be that I jumped into the water myself? I asked in return. Just as you said, you've never offended me. So why would I push you into the water? Linru didn't expect me to use her own words to counterattack. Her eyes darted around a few times. Perhaps it is because you are jealous of how well cousin treats me. Sister Shu, you've really misunderstood me. Cousin and I only have sibling affection. I know that even before Sister Shu became engaged to cousin, you'd already admired him for a long time. How could I steal someone's love? Linru's words were quite venomous. Openly, she explained that her relationship with Shi Jian was innocent. Covertly, she directly pointed to my improper behavior, pining after a man outside my family. Meng Zhao, daughter of the Vice Minister of Revenue, who never got along with me, chimed in. Oh my, I think Miss Ava speaks so earnestly. She doesn't seem like someone who'd lie. I was about to argue back when I heard Shi Juan roar. Enough, Shu Jue. You are always being jealous and petty, but Ruer has never held it against you. Today, you've gone too far. Hurry up and apologize to Ruer, and we'll let this matter pass. Lin Ru looked at me smugly, that look in her eyes exactly the same as in my past life. Every time Shi Juan took her side and scolded me, but she was destined to be disappointed, because I simply didn't care about Shi Juan anymore. I said unhurriedly, the matter hasn't been cleared up yet, and young Master Xia is in such a rush to convict me. Could it be you are more powerful than the authorities? Speaking of authorities, if Miss Ava insists it was me who caused you to fall into the water, why don't we report this to the officials? At the mention of reporting to officials, Lin Ru turned pale with fright. After all, a guilty conscience makes one fearful. But Xie Zhuan's face darkened. Jiwei, it is just a small matter. If you don't want to apologize, Ruer is magnanimous enough not to blame you. Why use threats of reporting to officials to frighten Ruer? Besides, you and I are about to be married, and Ruer is your sister too. Why must family make things so ugly between us? I refuse to yield an inch. First of all, what young Master Xia calls a small matter concerns the reputations of two women. And a woman's reputation is as important as her life. How can it be an insignificant small matter? Secondly, Lin Ru and I each insist on our own version, so reporting to the authorities is to handle this matter fairly. Lastly, I said through gritted teeth, young Master Xi and I merely have a marriage agreement. We can't be considered family yet. Moreover, Today's incident has made me see young Master Xi's true character even more clearly. Our engagement might as well be called off. Facing my sharp confrontation, Shi Jian's expression changed from initial anger to panic when he finally heard about calling off the engagement. Shu Jiwei, Shu, what do you mean? Then he said angrily. Marriage is a serious matter. How can you treat it like child's play? You are being completely unreasonable. Lin Ru took the opportunity to play the victim. It is all my fault for causing a rift between Sister Shu and my cousin. As if suffering a great injustice, she bit her lip and said, I was confused after falling into the water earlier. Sister Shu didn't push me. I accidentally fell into the water myself. After saying this, she continuously wiped away tears. These words sounded even more like something she was forced to say against her will for the sake of the bigger picture. Ji Jiyuan's sanctimonious pretense and Lin Ru's affectation made me feel like vomiting. Suddenly, a sharp voice rang out. The Princess Royal has arrived. In my previous life after, I fell into the water. Since I already had an engagement with Shi Zhuan, it didn't alarm the Princess Royal. This time, my dispute with Shi Zhuan and Lin Ru must have been too great, and thus reached the Princess Royal's ears. The Princess Royal was elegant and noble, commanding respect without anger, with the natural bearing of royalty. Accompanying her was the Crown Prince Cheng. He was born to the eldest princess and the Duke of Zhengguo, of noble status, and was granted the title of heir apparent at birth. It is said that today's 100 Flowers banquet is being held to select a proper wife for him. Everyone bowed in unison, and many young ladies secretly stole glances at Cheng Yuan. their faces flushing with shyness. Among them, Meng Zhao was the boldest, batting her eyelashes and sending him flirtatious glances one after another. However, Cheng Yuan didn't even spare her a single glance. It was truly like casting amorous looks at a blind man. Lin Ru had no choice but to rise from Shi Zhuan's embrace at this moment. But her clothes were soaked through, her hair disheveled and scattered. She looked utterly bedraggled. The eldest princess parted her jade lips. "You may rise. This palace has heard that someone fell into the water. What exactly happened?" Lin Ru rushed to answer. In reply to the eldest princess, "The one who fell into the water was this commoner girl. As for why I fell into the water." Her eyes darted toward me, looking hesitant and reluctant to speak, as if she had reservations. I replied neither humbly nor arrogantly. "Eldest princess, Miss Ava fell into the water and insists that this subject pushed her. This subject's mind was entirely on admiring the flowers, and from start to finish, I never touched Miss Ava in the slightest. This subject knows I have disrupted the 100 Flowers banquet and begs the eldest princess for forgiveness. But I truly do not wish to suffer this injustice." Before I finished speaking, Lin Ru said tearfully, "Sister Shu, if you didn't push me, how could I have fallen into the water? Just now there were only you and I here. Who is right and who is wrong? Anyone with eyes can see it. Why must Sister Shu lie?" Miss Ava put on quite a show with her performance, and quite a few people looked at me with suspicion. But she didn't expect that this was exactly the moment I was waiting for. I lifted my head and said with a firm gaze, "This subject can prove her own innocence." Seeing my unusual determination, Miss Ava said in a flustered tone, "Sister Shu, you wouldn't fabricate evidence to frame me, would you?" Ji Zhuan also hurriedly spoke up. "Zhu Wei, the princess is here, don't play petty tricks. I already said we'd let this matter pass." Ignoring the two of them, I said directly to the princess, "Please, princess, move forward, the evidence is by the lake." Everyone moved to where Miss Ava had fallen into the water. I pointed at the wet mud. "This is the evidence." Everyone looked puzzled. Miss Ava shrieked even more sharply. "What kind of evidence is this? Sister Shu, are you making fools of everyone?" "Footprints," a clear male voice came through. It was the Crown Prince Cheng Yuan, who had not spoken until now. I was surprised by his perceptiveness and couldn't help glancing at him. He was also looking at me, his eyes calm and unruffled, as if those words hadn't come from his mouth. "One set of footprints is always in front. One set always behind. The one in front couldn't have pushed the one behind." He condescended to explain further, and everyone suddenly understood. I struck while the iron was hot. The Crown Prince is most perceptive. "I humbly request the princess send someone to examine mine and Miss Ava's shoe prints." Miss Ava's face turned deathly pale. A matron was already asking her to go inside, and she cast a pleading look toward Shi Zhuan. But she was destined to be disappointed. Ji Zhuan didn't even glance at her, keeping his head lowered on his own. Soon the servants finished their inspection and reported the results to the eldest princess. Lin Ru's legs went limp as she was dragged back. The eldest princess said furiously, "A perfectly good 100 Flowers banquet, ruined by a lowly person like you. Summon in 20 lashes, then throw her out of the princess's residence." Lin Ru wept bitterly, begging for mercy again and again. Ji Zhuan opened his mouth wanting to plead for Lin Ru. The instant he met the eldest princess's gaze, he lost his nerve again, and could only watch as Lin Ru was punished. Each strike showed no mercy. Soon Lin Ru looked utterly disheveled, no longer appearing the slightest bit pitifully delicate. Now where was that pitiful look that evoked sympathy? Only a vicious expression remained. The eldest princess turned and left. Seeing the main character exit, the crowd gradually dispersed as well. I had no interest in watching the show either, and was about to head back home. Shi Zhuan shouted, "Shu Zhuwei, are you satisfied now? Watching Ruer being humiliated? Does it please you? A jealous shrew like you is completely unfit to be my legal wife." Lin Ru's eyes also flashed with hateful light. wishing she could eliminate me as quickly as possible. But I want to say, this is only just the beginning. I returned home early, which naturally caught Mother's attention. Mother was kind and gentle, almost always putting me first in everything. Our household was simple. Father had only taken one concubine, who was his chambermaid from his early years. It was also because of my mother's kindness toward the concubines that I mistakenly thought wives and concubines should naturally be like this. Now looking back, I was ridiculously wrong. I laid bare everything that happened today to my mother, and firmly insisted on calling off this engagement. The tears that had never fallen, the grievances and helplessness accumulated over 2 lifetimes, finally burst forth before my mother. Daughter was wrong. It is all because daughter failed to judge people clearly. Mother simply held me in her arms and comforted me. Life is long. Who can guarantee they won't make mistakes? Cutting your losses in time is already a great fortune. I always thought you were still young, so I never told you about these inner household matters. Your father and Aunt Zhao have had feelings since childhood. She sighed. If it weren't for Aunt Zhao's weak constitution and never bearing a son or daughter, how could our household be so harmonious now? Jiwei, from what you've told me, that Shi Jiyuan and his cousin have long had an affair. Moreover, that cousin is Madame Xi's own niece. If you really married into the Xia household, who knows how much undeserved grievance you'd suffer. Mother, after all, was someone who had been through it all. She hit the nail on the head. Ji Jiyuan's mother was in poor health and often bedridden. Every time she fell ill, she would insist I attend to her at her bedside, and at the slightest displeasure, she would punish me at will. Each time after she recovered, I would have wasted away 2 sizes. When meeting people, she would still complain. Jiwei was originally a pampered young lady. In the end, she is not as attentive to cold and warmth as Rower. Thinking about that nest of snakes and rats in the Xia household, my stomach started churning again. Seeing my complexion was off, Mother instructed the maid Xiao Tao to help me back to my room to rest. I hesitated and said, Father's side. Mother said gently, Don't worry about your father, I'll go persuade him myself. I don't know how Mother persuaded Father. Father took the betrothal card and gifts, and personally went to their door to break off the engagement. The next day, Madame Xia came to our door with Shi Jiyuan and Lin Ru. Mother told me I didn't need to come out to see them, and dealt with them herself in the front hall. I sat behind the screen, listening to Madame Xia say softly, Jiyuan and Jiwei are perfectly matched, with the wedding just around the corner. How can we let a misunderstanding ruin this engagement? If I hadn't seen Madame Xia's true face, I might have really thought she was a kind person. Mother replied unhurriedly. Misunderstanding. Just a few days ago, your niece swore up and down that my Jiwei pushed her into the water. If not for Jiwei's cleverness, she would have nearly had her reputation destroyed by your dear niece. Not demanding an explanation from you is already generous. Yet, you still have the face to show up at our door. At this moment, Lin Ru dropped to her knees with a thud. Madam Xu, right or wrong, it is all Lin Ru's fault alone. That day I was confused for a moment, possessed by some demon. If Sister Xu is angry, feel free to come at me, beat me or punish me, I'll accept whatever you decide. I have to say, Lin Ru was quite flexible and adaptable, lowering her stance incredibly low. Unfortunately, Mother wasn't buying it. She turned to Mrs. Xi. I wonder how Mrs. Xi plans to arrange things for Miss Ava. Mrs. Xi didn't expect Mother to be so direct. This Rower and Jiyuan have already developed intimate feelings. So your son intends to take Miss Ava as a concubine? No, Ji Jiyuan blurted out in his urgency, only realizing it was wrong after he spoke, but he could only brace himself and continue. Ruer's my cousin, I can't bear to mistreat her. After Jiwei enters our family, I plan to welcome her as an equal wife. Let me explain to everyone. The so-called equal wife actually doesn't exist at all in ancient law. Those who take another wife while already having one shall be beaten with 90 strokes, meaning the law only recognizes one legitimate wife. So, what is an equal wife? To put it bluntly, I want you to be a concubine, but I am afraid you won't be happy about it, so I package it with a nice-sounding title to make you think you are on equal footing with the legitimate wife. Mother slammed down her teacup heavily. What a fine can't bear to mistreat. Taking an equal wife. This is slapping the Shu family in the face. Mrs. Shi glared hard at Shi Yuan, then said with an apologetic smile, Ruer's matter can be decided later. The urgent matter at hand is the marriage between Ji Yuan and Ji Wei. I don't see any room for negotiation in this matter. Mrs. Shi, please leave. Samano, see the guests out. After breaking off the engagement with Shi Jiyuan, my mood improved a lot. Although there were many rumors and gossip outside, even saying I was jealous and intolerant. Without even thinking, I knew who had spread it. But I am no longer the Shu Jue from my past life who feared what people said. A new jewelry shop opened in the East Market, and Xiao Tao urged me to check it out. She said the jewelry there had novel designs and was extremely popular among ladies and young misses. I knew this girl must have been instructed by mother, so how could I refuse? I had heard about the jewelry shop in the East Market in my past life. I was trimming flower branches in the courtyard when Lin Ru and Shi Jiyuan came in, chatting and laughing. Cousin, this newly opened jewelry shop in the East Market is really quite good. Look, these 2 hairpins I picked out today. Aren't they both beautiful? Both beautiful, but neither as beautiful as Ruer. Cousin, you are annoying. Who asked you that? Lin Ru said with a hint of disdain. But still, these are definitely much better looking than those hairpins that were pawned off. Seeing me in the courtyard, both of them froze, revealing a sense of guilt. I didn't think much of it at the time, but now that I think about it, what was pawned was probably my dowry. Back then, I was already like a bird in a cage, held in their grip. Not wanting to recall past pain, I focused on selecting jewelry. Suddenly, a green cicada white jade hairpin caught my attention. The cicada was carved extremely vividly, its wings delicate and lifelike. I had the shopkeeper take it out for a closer look when a female voice loudly said, I want this hairpin. It was Lin Ru. Not having seen her for several days, she looked much more spirited overall. There was also a maid serving her by her side. She smiled. Who would have thought Sister Shu and I have such similar taste? But I was one step faster, so this hairpin belongs to me. She leaned close to my ear and whispered, the person is the same too. The shopkeeper looked at us awkwardly. After all, I was the one who took a liking to this hairpin first. I smiled lightly at Lin Ru. Since both you and I have taken a fancy to this hairpin, why don't we let the highest bidder win? Father Xia was merely a leisurely civil official with limited family wealth. Lin Ru, an orphaned girl, had even less money on her. In my previous life, if not for my dowry subsidizing them, how could the Xia family have lived so comfortably? Cornered by my move, Lin Ru had no way out and said with false bravado, Fine, I bid 50 taels. The shopkeeper spoke up at the right moment. This hairpin is priced at 80 taels. My bidding war with Lin Ru had already attracted quite a crowd of onlookers. After hearing the shopkeeper's words, the surrounding people laughed mockingly. Where did this greenhorn come from, acting like a big shot here? Lin Ru, utterly humiliated and annoyed, shouted, I bid 100 taels. I bid 150 taels. Lin Ru didn't expect me to raise the bid so aggressively, and was flustered for a moment. But seeing the eyes of the people around watching the spectacle, she could only grit her teeth and raise the bid. 160 taels. I continued with the same strategy, 200 taels. This time, not just Lin Ru even. The surrounding people gasped. Lin Ru broke down. Shu Jiwei, have you gone mad? How is this crappy hairpin worth 200 taels? I said casually. You can't buy my willingness with a fortune. If I say it is worth it, then it is worth it. As for Miss Ava, if you don't raise your bid, the item will be mine. Besides, some things I just don't want for myself. If I really wanted it, How would it be your turn, Miss Ava? Lin Ru was provoked by me until her eyes turned bloodshot red, and she spat out, 210 taels. 240 taels. Without a second thought, Lin Ru said, 250 taels. I didn't speak again, Lin Ru said smugly. What is wrong, Sister Shu? Not raising your bid anymore? Didn't you say you can't buy your willingness with a fortune? I said composedly. A gentleman doesn't steal what others love. And besides, this price truly suits Miss Ava. Only then did Lin Ru realize she'd been played by me, but the shopkeeper had already written up the contract and was asking Lin Ru for her name and which residence to deliver to. The veins on Lin Ru's forehead throbbed visibly. She forced herself to reply. Lin Rushi residence on Qingfang Street. With that, she turned and left, as if fleeing in defeat. Once she was gone, Xiao Tao and I couldn't help but exchange smiles. Little did I know that the seam just now had fallen into the eyes of someone upstairs. The corners of his mouth lifted slightly. Interesting. Now my marriage has become the top priority of the household. After being delayed by Shijuan like this, I am now considered an old maid. I myself am not in a hurry though, because being someone's wife, how could that compare to the freedom and ease of being an unmarried girl when I have nothing to do? I like to go to father's study to get books to read. Mother used to restrict me, making me learn household management, bookkeeping, and the like. After the incident with Shijuan, they also turned a blind eye to me. That day I was reading intently when Xiao Tao came running over with a smile. Miss, let me tell you something funny, I asked. Is it about the Shi household? Xiao Tao said in surprise. Miss, how did you know? Did someone tell you? No, I guessed. Xiao Tao was impatient by nature and spilled everything like pouring beans from a bamboo tube. It turned out that day, Lin Ru bought the jade hairpin out of spite with me. The shopkeeper personally delivered the jade hairpin to the door, but unexpectedly was driven away by the gatekeeper. They said no one in the household had bought a hairpin, and the madam and concubines hadn't left the residence today. When the shopkeeper reported the name of the person who bought the hairpin, the gatekeeper hurriedly informed Madame Xia. When Madame Xia heard that the hairpin cost 250 taels, she was so angry she nearly fainted. She scolded Lin Ru until she was black and blue, but Shijuan, who didn't run the household and had no idea how expensive things were, still urged Madame Xi to buy the hairpin. In a fit of anger, Madame Xi told the shopkeeper whoever said they'd buy it, "You go ask them for the money." Lin Ru had no money, and could only stand to the side looking delicate and weak while watching Shijuan and crying. But Shijuan couldn't come up with that much silver either, and for a while they were at an impasse. The shopkeeper grew impatient, and said if they had no silver, he'd report it to the authorities. Since he had a contract after all, Lin Ru cried even louder. Shijuan urged Madame Xi to hurry up and pay. Otherwise Lin Ru would be facing a lawsuit. Seeing her son still protecting that little hussy Lin Ru at every turn, Madame Xi was furious to the point of losing her mind and went up to hit Lin Ru Shijuan, blocked in between them, and during the struggle, they actually knocked over the jewelry box sitting on the table. The jade hairpin broke in half. Now this was great. Not only did they have to pay compensation, but the item was also ruined. Madame Xi was so angry that she directly took to her bed and couldn't get up. The next day, the matter spread throughout all the household inner quarters, and the Xia family became an object of ridicule for everyone. After hearing Xiao Tao finish speaking, I only hoped that Shijuan and Lin Ru could keep loving each other like this forever. Who knew this person really couldn't stand being talked about? That day, Mother took me to attend a banquet at Minister Zhao's residence, to celebrate old Madame Zhao's 70th birthday. We ran into Shijuan and Lin Ru again. Unexpectedly, in just a few months' time, Shijuan had already lost his former gentle and refined image. Seeing me, he seemed to have 1,000 words to say, but I couldn't even be bothered to give him half a glance. Lin Ru also no longer had her previous fragile appearance, looking at me with eyes full of venomous hatred. Now her reputation was too foul, and she had an illicit affair with Shijuan. Yayet still had no matchmaker or betrothal. Wherever she went, people talked behind her back. The banquet was an ordinary banquet, except suddenly a maid spilled tea while serving, soaking my clothes. The maid tearfully apologized, and I couldn't bear to scold her harshly, telling her to just take me to change clothes. Who knew she'd lead me further and further astray? Even Xiao Tao started to get suspicious. The maid said in a flustered manner, "It is not far now, just around the corner." But I refused to take another step forward. Suddenly, a heavy thud came from behind me. Xiao Tao had been struck down to the ground. Before I could open my mouth to call for help, a handkerchief covered my nose and mouth. Fortunately, Xiao Tao's fall gave me time to react. The handkerchief soaked with knockout drug. The instant it covered my nose and mouth, I immediately held my breath. It is just that the drug was too potent. Though I retained consciousness, my limbs went limp and I couldn't move. But precisely because I still had consciousness, I knew my kidnappers were none other than Shi Zhiyuan and Lin Ru. Seeing me unconscious, Lin Ru's voice carried a gleeful, twisted tone. "Shuzhue, aren't you so high and mighty? Your mouth keeps going on about innocence, innocence. In a moment I'll let everyone see your disgraceful state." Ji Zhuan was clearly more nervous than her. "Keep your voice down. Don't let anyone discover us." Ji Zhuan dragged me all the way to a desolate pavilion. I could roughly guess what they were planning to do. The drug's potency was extremely strong, making my consciousness increasingly hazy. Thinking of how I was about to repeat the tragedy of my previous life, tears slid down from the corners of my eyes. Shi Jiwan placed me on a broken bed. Lin Ru urged, "Hurry up and ruin her reputation." Ji Jiwan seemed somewhat awkward. Lin Ru said sarcastically, "What is wrong? It is not like this is your first time doing this kind of thing. You weren't this shy with me." Now that Lin Ru had shown her true colors, she was no longer the flawless jade image in Shi Zhuan's heart, and naturally earned his disgust. "Enough. You go out first after the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, then call for people." Lin Ru clenched her teeth in secret, stamped her foot hatefully, and turned to walk out. Only Shi Zhuan and I remained. Extreme fear and helplessness flooded my heart. I tried with all my might to call for help, but my throat couldn't produce a single sound. Just as my reputation was about to be ruined, suddenly Lin Ru's startled cry came from outside the door. Right after, the door opened. Ji Zhiyuan hurriedly rose from the edge of the bed, but was knocked out by a palm strike from the newcomer. I didn't know who had saved me, only smelled the very crisp scent of cedarwood on him. Me consciousness had already blurred to the limit. I only wanted to get close to that cool, refreshing scent. He softly comforted me with a phrase, then sealed my acupoint. I also completely lost consciousness. When I woke up again, this is the most heart-wrenching part of the entire text. When I wrote this, my palms were sweating. Zhu is reborn. She has memories of her past life, a clear mind and decisive action. But this time, she was drugged unconscious, couldn't move her limbs, couldn't even call for help. No matter how powerful the soul, trapped in a powerless body, it is utterly helpless. This is where this story is well written. It doesn't portray the female lead as an all-powerful cheat, mode player. It shows you, in that era, she really could be completely defenseless. Rebirth gave her wisdom and foresight, but not overwhelming physical strength. So when Chongyuan appeared, I genuinely breathed a sigh of relief. I was already lying on the couch in my own room. Mother was wiping away tears beside me, and Xiao Tao was sobbing too. Seeing me awake, both of them let out a sigh of relief. Mother hastily told Xiao Tao to go to the kitchen to get food. My head was still foggy, but that annoying discomfort was gone. Mother didn't ask me what happened. She must have already known everything. After Mother left, I couldn't help but ask Xiao Tao, "That day, who saved me?" Xiao Tao looked equally confused. She said after being knocked unconscious, She seemed to have been out for quite a while. When she woke up, I was already lying beside her. She had someone send word to mother, and later we managed to leave the banquet without further incident. I forced myself to endure the discomfort, and asked her how Shi Jiyuan and Lin Ru were doing. Xiao Tao said indignantly, "It must be those two adulterous dogs who harmed you." Miss, Madam Shi searched left and right at the banquet but couldn't find them, so she had no choice but to ask Madam Zhao for help. Who would have thought? The servants in the manor found the two of them in a side hall. When they were discovered, both were disheveled and in a wretched state tangled together. That scene humiliated everyone present. Madame Zhao was furious and declared she would have her master impeach Minister Shi. Madame Shi was also full of rage, which she vented entirely on Lin Ru, and actually scolded Lin Ru awake. Xiao Tao's mouth was dry from talking, so I had her drink some tea before continuing. Later, young Master Xia also woke up, only to shout like a madman. How could this happen? How could this happen? No one cared about him though. Everyone mocked the Shi family for being uncivilized, causing such a scandal at the minister's residence. When Madame Xi left, her face turned from pale to livid. The way she glared at Lin Ru was as if she wanted to bore a hole through her with her eyes. I just felt it was absurd. In my previous life, Lin Ru was the caring, attentive person Madame Xia praised most. Shi Jiyuan's father was demoted, and it was a demotion of 3 ranks. But that wasn't all. Minister Zhao was most filial, because Shi Jiyuan and the other had ruined the birthday banquet he had meticulously prepared. He petitioned the emperor to have Shi's father transferred to a remote post. I heard that when the imperial edict arrived at the Xia manor, Lady Shi wailed and beat the ground in anguish. When the decree of exile was read aloud, she even fainted. Father Shi severely punished Xia Jiyuan. The punishment was extremely harsh. As for Lin Ru, she was directly sent back to her hometown by the furious Master Xia. But the reason Lin Ru sought refuge with her aunt was precisely because she had no close relatives left. Her other relatives were all wolves and tigers, so Lin Ru's days were predictably miserable. Of course I don't care about any of this. Compared to what I suffered in my previous life, they're getting exactly what they deserve. I just find it ironic. I originally wanted to collect the debt myself, never expecting they'd bring about their own destruction. To this day, who saved me that day, and who deliberately threw those two onto the same bed, remains a mystery. Right now, this is what troubles me most. Another year passed, and my age really couldn't be delayed any longer. Mother sent word out, and many matchmakers rushed to our door with marriage proposals. But because I had, after all, broken off an engagement before, those who came with proposals were not of high status, and their character wasn't very outstanding either. Both father and mother were somewhat worried. One day father couldn't help but suggest marrying me to his prize student, Muhan. I had indeed met Muhan a few times. He came from a humble family, yet was proper and self-disciplined. Every time we met, he would respectfully step aside. More importantly, he was a top candidate for this year's Zhuangyuan, so his talent was naturally outstanding. His household was also simple, with only a younger sister, completely free of in-law troubles. If I really had to marry someone, he would indeed be a decent choice. But I kept delaying giving my consent. Perhaps the events of my previous life still left me with lingering fears. Until that day, when the mansion gates were about to be locked, a very respectably dressed matchmaker came to our door. Normally speaking, marriage proposals are made in the morning. Who makes proposals at night? But the matchmaker smiled before speaking, and even announced herself. I am here to make a marriage proposal on behalf of the eldest princess's mansion. Father and mother were extremely surprised, unable to react for a moment. The matchmaker said joyfully, "Young Master Cheng sincerely wishes to marry your daughter. He just returned from the border and had me visit your home at the first opportunity." Only then did father and mother come to their senses, though they were still completely confused. Mother asked tentatively, "Did you hear correctly? Young Master Cheng truly wishes to marry our Jiwei?" The matchmaker nodded repeatedly. Absolutely true. This cannot be false. Father and mother exchanged glances, both somewhat unable to make up their minds. Before, they disliked suitors from families of low status. Now they worried about a match being too far above our station. Mother instructed the servants. Go and ask the young lady to come out. After hearing the matchmaker's words, I too was unable to collect myself for a long time. Thinking back on my encounter with Chung Yuan, it seemed there was only that one meeting at the princess's mansion. I knew that refusing rashly wouldn't work. I had to speak clearly with Chung Yuan face to face. I asked the matchmaker to convey on my behalf that I wanted to meet the young master once before making a decision. This time, it was the matchmaker who was surprised. She seemed not to have expected that I wouldn't immediately agree to such a wonderful opportunity. Cheng Yuan asked me to meet at the Huiming tea house. I heard the tea there is extremely expensive, comparable to gold. These past few days, I've been weighed down with worries because of Chung Yuan's marriage proposal. Just as I started up the stairs, I bumped right into a waiter rushing down. As the world spun around me, I fell into a solid embrace. It was Chung Yuan. Our eyes met, and suddenly I caught a whiff of a familiar snow pine scent at my nose. My heart stirred slightly, but I quickly got up from Cheng Yuan's arms. This subject's daughter greets the heir apparent. Cheng Yuan said, no need for such formality. The tea at Huiming Tea House truly lived up to its reputation. The tea broth was bright and clear, refreshing upon entry, and most precious of all was that lingering sweet aftertaste. Cheng Yuan sat upright and said solemnly, I have long admired Miss Xu. I dare to request a proper matchmaker and the 6 rites of betrothal to form a marriage alliance. I didn't expect Chung Yuan to be so direct. I nearly spat out my mouthful of tea. I also sat upright and said, cough, cough, heir apparent. Marriage is a lifelong matter. Please forgive Jiwei for not being able to promise so easily. A woman's marriage is like being reborn a second time. It should be deeply and carefully considered. Chung Yuan paused, his eyes growing even more resolute as he said, my heart is sincere, as clear as the sun and moon. I also hope Miss Xu need not be troubled and simply follow her own heart. This is the true depth of a real noble family's young master, and he never mentioned saving me that day, which shows his character. Please give this subject daughter 3 months, and I will definitely give the heir apparent an answer. The 3-month period passed in a flash. When mother asked how I had considered it, I only smiled without speaking. That day, a former classmate of father's came to visit. I was sitting in the study reading when father told me to pay my respects. But he didn't ask me to leave. The visitor had just come from the place where the Xia family was stationed abroad. Speaking of the Xia family, he said, that young master of the Xia household later married the daughter of his father's superior. Her dowry was quite generous, but she has a fierce personality. The servants she brought to the Xia family were extremely numerous. So much so that even Lady Xia had to watch her expression. Later, something happened. It is said that young Master Xia's cousin came to the door, claiming she was pregnant with young Master Xia's child. This young Lady Xia, after welcoming her in, tormented her in all sorts of ways, treating her just like a lowly servant girl. Within half a month, that cousin had a miscarriage. I heard that after the miscarriage, that cousin went completely mad, ranting that it wasn't like this. It wasn't like this. I am the legitimate wife. I am the legitimate wife. Young Master Xi himself also became muddled and confused. Once when he went out drinking, he got into a dispute with someone and was beaten so badly he became disabled. That new wife went around shouting that she had married a useless waste, and insisted on divorce no matter what. Old Master Xi was so enraged that the anger attacked his heart, and he immediately fell ill in bed. The visitor finally sighed and said, I reckon the Xia family is completely finished. I felt neither sorrow nor joy, for all of this was what Xi and Lin had brought upon themselves. Returning to my chamber, Xiao Tao handed me a letter. Who wrote the letter was self-evident after all. The 3-month period had arrived. Opening the letter, there were only 3 words. Will you consent? I replied with one word. Yes. I have so much I want to say. I can't help but chat with you all. First, let me talk about Jiwei as a person. After Rebirth, facing Shi Zhuan, she had not a trace of attachment. It wasn't because hatred had extinguished love, but because she understood too clearly, in her past life, she didn't lose because she didn't love enough, but because she believed in love too much. So in this life, her first move wasn't revenge, but cutting her losses, breaking off the engagement, staying away, not getting entangled. This kind of composure, it took living 2 lifetimes to gain it. Now, let's talk about Chung Yuan. This man's words throughout the entire story probably don't add up to more than 20 sentences, but every single one hit the mark. At the 100 Flowers banquet, everyone else was watching the spectacle, taking sides, kicking her while she was down. He only said 2 words, footprints. Not to help Jiwei, but because facts are facts. When proposing marriage, he said, "My heart is sincere, as the sun and moon can attest." Jiwei said, "Give me 3 months." He truly waited 3 months. No urging, no rushing, no pressure. Only on the day the period ended, he sent 3 words. Will you consent? You guys think about these 3 words. It is not will you marry me or not. Not have you thought it through. But rather, may I be allowed to marry you? Respectful, humble, placing the choice completely and entirely in her hands. This is a crown prince who has returned from leading troops in battle at the borderlands. He can conquer the world, yet before one woman, he willingly lowers his head to wait for an answer. Finally, voting time has arrived. The Xia family's complete downfall. What is the most fundamental reason? A Shi Jiyuan is a poor judge of character, weak and selfish, constantly indulging Lin Ru, destroying his own future. B. Lin Ru is vain and calculating, constantly creating trouble, dragging down the entire Xia family. C. The Xia family members have twisted values, valuing profit over righteousness, disregarding dignity and propriety for the sake of gain. D. Ji Zhuyuan and his mother are arrogant and domineering, offending powerful figures like Minister Zhao, losing their backing in officialdom.